Welcome to our Work Remote Strategies webinar. I am thrilled to have our guest here, not only because she is going to give you a lot of valuable and important content, but also because Margaret Greenberg is a close friend and a long-time collaborator. Margaret and I, see, there we are. Margaret and I are the co-authors of this business book, and I adore Margaret. We adore each other's families. We like each other. So I hope you'll have fun with us today. And and the biggest thing we want to speak with you about today is how can you grow your business during this pandemic? And I just want to say, we realize that a lot of the people on this call, you come from the high-tech companies that we coach to or from the finance companies. But this is relevant for you whether you're a coach or consultant and growing your own business, or whether you're growing something within your company, or you have one of these things that's more and more popular these days, like a side hustle or something that you're interested in developing. So with all of that, I'm going to welcome Margaret and say hello, and then we'll launch into a bunch of Q&A for about 20 minutes and have questions with you afterwards. I'll be asking Margaret some questions. Hi, Margaret.
Hello. I'm delighted to be here. I can't tell you. It's so nice to be in this role, getting interviewed for a change.
That's right. Often you are doing 360 interviews or other interviews. That's right. I hadn't thought about that. That's right. So let's start with this. My sense, Margaret, and tell me if you see it differently, my sense is that it's a little bit of an all hands on deck at work these days. So everybody is doing all the work that needs to be done. We have less time away from work, but I think the statistic that I saw in an Adam Grant post is that we are working 2 hours more per day on average these days. What are you hearing from your coaching clients, the leaders that you coach at companies, in terms of their abilities to take on passion projects or even work that they really love during these times?
Well, I'll start with myself. I thought I was going to have all this time to learn a new language. I was going to do all my photos into Snapfish albums. And I had this list of things that I was going to do. And I will tell you personally, I haven't gotten to very many of them. Because we're working longer and harder. There's very little delineation between work and home now because we're working from home. So all those quote free hours I thought I was going to have, I don't necessarily have. And I think the other thing that's going on is we're behind our computers all day doing this, right? So the last thing a lot of people feel like doing at night is to get back on their computer and learn a language or do a Snapfish album or anything else. And what I'm hearing from my clients and colleagues is many of them still have young children at home. And they're playing teacher in between Zoom video conferences with business leaders and clients. And so it's really you get it, right? With 2 little kids. Absolutely. So we're juggling just so much more. And then I'm hearing my adult daughter is here sequestered with us right now, and we're in a little 2-room cabin. So I hear a lot of her business calls, and she's working probably 14 hours a day. She'll take breaks during the day, but then she's back on at night, just trying to keep up with the volume of email and business development that they're doing. So it's a kind of a crazy time. Anybody else juggling like that? Right. Actually, yeah. Let's just keep asking the people on this call as we're going through. Are you working more or less during this time? And if more, how much more? If less, how much less? We have a couple of comments coming in, but I'll ask you the next question in the meantime. Margaret, how is it possible to grow one's own business in a time where we're just being very reactive and responsive to things coming in? How can we also be proactive in growing our own business? Yeah, I think that old adage about it's easier to gain business from an existing client than it is trying to acquire a new one. In fact, the stats are the success rate for selling to an existing client is between 60 and 70%. The success rate of selling to a new client is between 5 and 20%. Those are some latest stats on that. And so it'd be great to get some new clients, at this time, but your time will be better spent trying to cultivate and maintain that relationship that you already have with your existing clients.
Okay, so you're saying if people want to grow their business or even grow their work within the tech companies or other companies that they're in, really they should be focused on things that they already have, connections they have, business links that they have. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. I like to think of it as like the 80-20 rule. About 80% of my time is spent checking in with clients, existing clients, you know, maintaining those relationships. And 20% of the time is reaching out to potentially new clients. So that's been my business model since 1997 when I first started this practice 23 years ago last month. And I really attribute that to my success.
And that's exactly actually what we try to do in these 20-minute webinars. They're really short, but we want to say, what is the biggest takeaway? And even before I ask you that, this just seems something concise. Look, 80% of the time, are you reaching out to those clients, whether they're internal stakeholders or external, those clients who can give you that continued success at your work?
Because I really do believe, Senya, this COVID-19 is going to end. I mean, nothing lasts forever, right? So we don't know when it's going to be over, but it will pass. It's just like 2008, that crisis. We weathered that storm. I'm still in business, right? You're still in business. So it's going to end, but your clients are going to remember, how did you interact with them at this time? Did you go underground? Did you kind of just not only sequester in your house, but sequestered from reaching out? Or did you really check in with them, see how they're doing, like genuine concern? I mean, if they're really good clients, you know the names of their kids, their spouses, their partners, you know what they do. So really checking in. I think that Maya Angelou quote, you know, that says something like, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And I really believe people are going to remember how we behaved or interacted with them at this time.
Yeah. So Margaret, if people have one takeaway from today's session, what should it be?
Don't do business development. Okay, no business development, business relationships. Reframe business development to business relationships. It sounds like a nuance or a fine point, but it is really a mindset from going out and I'm going to go get more business to I'm going to go out and I'm going to build relationships. That's would be my one takeaway. So you know how like real estate people talk about location, 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 right? That's like the mantra. To me, it's relationships, relationships, relationships. I still have relationships with people I worked with back in 1997.
Yeah, that's huge. That's decades ago.
Right? Yeah. Some of them are actually retired now, and I still have relationships. I visit them when I was in Nashville. I visit them when I'm in Boston. I visit them when I travel to places. So some of them are even retired, but I still have a relationship.
So tell me about that point where, let's say it's somebody who's already a client, but it's actually not a client that you've known for decades. You've just recently know them. What do you tend to do to grow that relationship in that nascent stage?
Well, right now in this COVID-19, and I do have some people that are not clients yet. They might have come to a few freebies that I've done, or I've known them through other people. What I focus in on is how are they coping right now? How are they doing? Like don't skirt over that. You know, what's the day in a life like for you right now? You know, what's changed? What's the silver lining? I've had people tell me, oh, the silver lining is I get to spend time, as stressful as it is, I get to spend time with my second grader. Or for me, I get to spend time with an adult child. So find out, you know, how they're coping, what's changed. And then there's always two questions I love to ask. Which one, what have you done for yourself today? Because these are all leaders, whether they're leaders in their family or leaders at work, right? And as leaders, we're always serving or taking care of other people. So I always like to ask, what have you done for yourself today? And oftentimes the answer is, I haven't done anything, Margaret. Okay, then right now, let's go for a walk and talk. You put your headset on, I'll put on mine, and right, we'll virtually go for a walk and talk. And then the second question I like to ask is, what have you done for someone else today? Because it feels so good when we help other people. And it's one of the best ways to take the spotlight off ourselves. If we're kind of stressing about our own stuff, go help somebody. Go do a little thing for somebody else, your neighbor, a friend, whomever. But go do something for somebody else, because that's going to really make you feel good too. Now, this may not sound very business-like, but it is business, because business is relationships.
Just think all four of those questions that you asked. How are you? What is your day-to-day like? What have you done for yourself? What have you done for others? They're such clear and also concise, but simple questions. They're not, what's the year-over-year revenue in that quarter, da-da-da, what are your expectations for it? Nothing, like nothing. They're questions you could ask when you're walking, if you're doing a walk yourself. You don't have to be at Zoom. You don't have to be near your nose.
And it applies to anything, right? To anyone and anybody. It's our humanity that we ask those questions, and then that invites then conversation. I have also asked, I've done, I don't know if your listeners know about SOAR, the SOAR analysis. What are your strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results? So with a business leader, sometimes I will, after I ask, what's going on, I'll say, okay, well, would a SOAR analysis be really helpful to you right now? And they're like, what the heck's a SOAR analysis? I'm like, well, it's the alternative to a SWOT analysis. You know what that is, right? So let's talk about it. So that's a framework that's, again, a really simple framework based on appreciative inquiry, that people can remember it. What are my strengths that I can draw upon right now? What are the opportunities? What are the aspirations? What are the results I'm looking for? And then I guess there's one more question I just thought of that I've been asking a lot of people lately. Those that have come to coaching calls saying, I've never handled a pandemic before. What do I do? I'll say, well, okay, most of us haven't experienced a pandemic before. However, we've all experienced some kind of challenge or tragedy in our life that we can recall, and we can draw upon that and remember what got us through that last challenge or tragedy, because it's going to get us through this one too.
I'm posting notes for our here. What can get you through some things that you've done before? As we wind down with the formal part, and then we'll open it up to questions. As we wind down, I'll ask you just one or two questions. What is for yourself, actually? That's so funny. I had this in my list of questions I wanted to ask you, but it's literally a take on what you just said. For yourself, Margaret, when business has been harder, or it's been a harder time industry or economy-wise, what have you done in those times to build your business, including now?
Yeah, well, I'm doing it right now, because business has definitely fallen off. My business included, and I know a lot of other coaches and consultants. There's been a freeze on using external vendors or consultants in a lot of the big companies that we work with. My business has fallen off. It's doing that outreach, that proactive outreach. And I learned something from my daughter called the double tap recently. I might think I'm going to start, tap dancing, but I'm not. The double tap is this. I have a list of my clients, my really good clients, and I keep track of when I reach out to them, right? By email, by phone, by text. or in person, although that's not happening these days. And I keep track of when I reached out to them, the date, and what it was in relationship to. Now, there's something called the double tap. Lately, I've been sending these out, and I'm not getting any reply. And so I'm thinking, oh, you know, people are busy, so you got to be persistent, right? I'm a big believer in persistence. We're not the only things on their plate right now. They've got a lot of other big things that they're dealing with. So you do the double tap, which is you send out that email or that phone call, whatever you do, and then you set a reminder to follow up, whether it's 2 days, 5 days, whatever you decide seems legitimate. And I sent out 7 last Monday. I heard back only from 1 by Friday. And these are like good clients, but you know, I don't take it personally. They're busy. I did the double tap on Monday. So yesterday, okay, it's been a week. I haven't heard from the other 6. I double tapped and said, hey, I understand there's the volume of email these days is crazy. Just wanted to be sure you received, you know, my email. Here's a secure link to my schedule. Let's hop on a call for 15, 20 minutes. Would love to connect with you. Well, as of today, I heard back from 4 more. So I got 4 more meetings on the calendar. Now, will those turn into business? Even if just 1 turns into business, I'll be happy. But it's another opportunity for me to reach out to these clients. 20-minute phone call. So persistence and do the double tap.
The double tap. One of the tools of today, the double tap. Nice. And I'll just add, these things that you're talking about, these relationships, they can be useful to us if we're interested in a company and getting promoted, sort of knowing who our stakeholders are for when we're up for promotion in a year. So we can be reaching out to people regardless. It can be about growing your business, growing internally, growing your career, all of that.
Right. I think, and now is the perfect time to focus in on professional development. I wrote a piece for LinkedIn last month, I think, called The One Thing That's Certain During Uncertain Times. And guess what it is? Your own professional development. I'm enrolled right now in a Shift 3, it's called Shift Positive 360. It meets twice a week over Zoom, over a 4-week period. I'm like, okay, this is I've been meaning to do this training. Now's the perfect time to do it. So I encourage everyone, hone your skills right now, do something, because when things seem out of control, if you can do just one little thing that makes you feel like you're in a control, you'll feel better.
Yeah. And to put an emphasis on Margaret's point right there, this is the conclusion of the formal part of the call. We'll ask for your Q&A in a moment. Would you just please, everybody who is with us, just take a moment and breathe. That can be your own self-care for today. Maybe take 1 more, so we'll have 2 deep breaths. And exhale. Just noticing yourself and noticing what you are taking away from what Margaret has said. So I'm going to thank Margaret right now and then take from you. What are your takeaways? What are you getting? And then any questions that you have. Thank you so much, Margaret. This was the formal conclusion, and now we'll do Q&A. Thank you so, so very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Okay, we are going to take your comments for the next about 7 minutes on things that you're going to take away. What's an action that you're taking away from everything Margaret said? The questions she's mentioned, the double tap, the 80-20, just all of this. What are we have a comment that we're hearing from professional communicators for our future lives. That is true. You have Margaret here on the call as the professional communicator for you to take in for your future lives. That is definitely true. So what are you walking away with? Yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah, and I would say Lee Doyle said that, and I'd say, yes, and your future lives start right now.
Exactly. So question for Margaret, comments on what you're going to be doing as a result of this. Let us know what you want to, and all right, we are getting some comments on what people are going to be doing. Okay, we've got someone saying that they love the 80-20 and agree with the build relationships part, that's greater than business development. And Margaret's whole reframing, it's not business development, it's business relationships. Yes, we're seeing that. Okay, well, we're going to take one more minute to see if you have questions. And as you do, I'm going to ask Margaret a question. Margaret, over the years of doing business development by yourself, what is something that surprised you, either as an aha moment for yourself or just something that you've developed over time that you might not have been able to predict early on?
Yeah, I listened to a piece of advice from my husband, who is also an entrepreneur. And it was when we were starting the certificate program. Remember the Profit from the Positive certificate program? And we were experimenting. So both Senny and I are big believers in experimentation, right? And so we wanted to turn it into a certificate program. And we got 3 people to sign up for the first cohort. And we came this close to canceling it, saying, only 3 people want this? Like, come on. And so my husband said, ladies, just do it. Look at it as an experiment. Look at it as your chance to work out some of the kinks and just, do it. So what if it's only think big, but act small? So that's the other, mantra. And we did. And now for 4 years later, we've trained people in 14 different countries in Profit from the Positive. So it's like, okay, we almost gave up on it, but we stuck with it and built it over time. So that would be persistence again, and think big, but act small.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's something you've learned, persistence. And I would also observe that that's a little bit experimenting.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I'm a big, big believer in pilots as another way to grow your business. Organizations love pilots, and they don't always want to go for the whole big layout proposal. And so if you can frame it into let's just pilot this and measure the results and see if how it goes, and then we can build on that. They're much more willing to bite and get the budget for that quote pilot than this big, initiative that you're trying to launch. That may be what you really want to do, but they're not ready for it yet. So it is all about organizational readiness.
Yeah. I'm going to read off a couple of takeaways that people are going to do. People are going to do the double tap. We've already talked about how people are saying building relationships is better than business development. And then one person is saying, I'm placing emphasis on my client's problems and coming in with compassion. Thank you so much, Margaret.
So Lee. You're welcome. I was going to say the Awakening Compassion at Work is a great book by Dr. Jane Dutton and Monica Warleen, Awakening Compassion at Work. I'd highly recommend that.
Ditto. I completely second that. And they're just really good advice and really good thoughts in this time too. Yeah, specific to now. Thank you so much.
Client
Margaret.
Problems. Client aspirations too, right? So not just problems, but their aspirations.
What do you mean? Why did you say that in response to this comment on emphasis on client problems? Why?
Well, that's only one part of the equation, right? If all we ever do is focus in on the problems, right, we become known as like the problem solver, right? When we focus in on their aspirations, we help people really achieve what they want in life. So it's much bigger, it's much more expansive, and much more future oriented.
Thank you so very much. Today you've been with us with Margaret Greenberg. Tomorrow we have Louisa Jewell speaking about resilience, and we're on at 11 a.m. Pacific for 20 minutes daily. Louisa? Yeah, we love Louisa.
Tell her I said hello. Okay.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. All the best.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Be well. Bye, everyone.